tuned into Recovery TV, the voice of hope, with your host, John J. Tassoni Jr. Discussions and information on addiction and mental health issues. Now, here's John and today's guest.
Welcome to another edition of Recovery TV, and I'm your host, John Tassoni. Narcan. Everyone should get it. Put it in your car, put it in your purse, put it in your home. Someday, you'll need it. This saves lives every day. We're not going to Narcan our way out of this, but we're going to save a lot of lives with it. So today my guest is Mr. Joe Pine. Mr. Pine has been in recovery since 2008, and he's agreed to come on the show today and talk about his story. Mr. Pine, welcome, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, John.
Tell me about your story.
My story started back when I was 18. I started using and doing coke and smoking weed, but not so much. It was the cocaine that actually did it. So being on the streets for a lot of years, I happened to run into a friend of mine. His name was Lou Costa. He works downtown, cleaning it up and everything. And he said, "Joe, I got a program for you. Do you want some help?" Hey, give me a minute to think about it. So I went back and got another six-pack, which was stupid. And I drank all that up, and he said, "Well, I'll give you another chance. Do you want to get into MAP?" I said, "Yeah, I'll try it. I'll find out what's going on." And the voices in my head were saying, this program is not for you right now. So lucky I had people that cared about me there. They didn't even know me. Herman Falou, he was my counselor. He said, "Joe, it's not the answer. This is the answer right here. Getting recovery, getting help." I said, "You know what? I'm going to try it out." So after the first day, I wanted to leave because of the rules and regulations, which a lot of us didn't want to abide by them rules. So I said, "You know what? I'm going to stick and stay." I stuck and stayed for 9.5 months.
Wow.
Graduated, got 3 certificates, 1 for residential and 2 for outpatient. And that really meant a lot to me because I learned something. There's nothing out there. This is where you belong, right here. And we're not telling you what to do. We're only trying to help you. And I was flabbergasted. I said, "Wow, 9.5 months? For me, that's big. It's very big."
So let me ask you just a couple of questions. So you were doing cocaine, you were smoking weed, and you also were drinking.
Right.
So that's a trifecta to me.
Not a quinella.
Not a quinella, that's a trifecta. So when you started to hear the voices in your head, Joe, saying, maybe this is not for me, maybe I should try to do something different, what was the turning point to you to say, "That's it, I'm doing it, I'm trying it, I'm going to get better"? What was the turning point?
Well, I'm a very spiritual person, and he was speaking to me. This is where you belong, not out there. And that was my turning point to stick and stay. Because I didn't want to go back out there because I knew exactly what it's going to do to me.
Right.
I'm going to be right back to where I was, getting high and acting stupid and going to jail. It just didn't work for me after that. So that's my turning point, getting into a program that I need. Sticking, being out there, it's not going to hurt. It's going to hurt me.
Yeah, it's not going to help you. It's not going to help.
Absolutely not. So that's the turning point for me, is to get into a program where I needed the structure, the help, and I got the help that I was looking for.
Yeah.
And look at me now, 17 years later.
You know, first of all, I got to give you a lot of credit. 17 years being clean and now helping other people getting into recovery. The question I would have for you is, when you look back, and I know it's hard to look back. You don't want to look back. You want to look forward. But when you look back and you were doing the trifecta, when do you think that when somebody first approached you and say, Joe, you need help? Was it the first 5 years of you doing this stuff? Second 5 years? You know, you've been clean for a long period of time, longer than a lot of people. So if I was sitting in front of you as a client, what would your conversation be with me?
Well, I would say, Mr. Castoni, you came to the right place where we can help you and not really keep you in treatment, because if that's what you want to do, that's on you. You know what I mean?
Right.
I keep it simple and I keep it moving. That's what I do.
Yeah.
So my advice would be to you is, who set you up to come into this program? Was it somebody on the street? Was it some, like I said, the voices in your head? What made you decide to come to treatment? You must have surrendered, because that's where you was going. Because I did the same thing. I had enough. I don't want that. I want help, and the help that I got for 17 years helped me out a lot.
You know, you bring up some interesting comments. Surrender. What was the other one you used? Treatment. Stay in something else. You know, some of these things that I've never heard on this show before. People say, and I've had a lot of people come on for treatment. You know, and you probably know this. When it's time to go, it's time to go. We can't wait another day, or can't wait another 2 days. So that's why we need bed availability as much as we do now. And I'm not sure if you know this, but alcohol now is almost equal to the opioid issues. Wow. The amount of people that need treatment. And that's because alcohol sales are up 300% in Rhode Island since COVID. All the liquor stores stayed open. Why did they stay open? Because you can die of a withdrawal from alcohol. You know, so I mean, I got to tell you, I give you a lot of credit from going from here to way over here 17 years later.
I'll tell you something, John. It's not easy, man.
No, every day it's a struggle every day.
You know what they told me when I first was in recovery? Get all the numbers you can get. That means you can reach out to that person instead of later. You have to do it now. People don't like to hear
Later.
After the fact.
Right.
People want to hear before. That's like, hey John, I need some help. Can you help me, man? I'm having a lot of struggles. Is this something that you can help me with? And if you can't do it, then you move to the next one.
Number. But we're going to take a break. I want to talk more about that when we come back. You're watching Recovery TV, and I'm your host, Sean Tassoni. We'll be right back after these messages.
Now, back to Recovery TV with your host, John J. Tassoni Jr. Recovery TV is made possible by our supporting sponsors and our title sponsor, AdCare. Now, here's John and today's guest.
Welcome back to Recovery TV, and I'm your host, Sean Tassoni. Mr. Joe Pine is in the house. December 3rd, 2008. Gave up drinking, drugging. Has been on the straight and narrow ever since. So, Joe, welcome, and thank you for joining us today. And I want to go back to the conversation we were having at the break pertaining to numbers. You said, if John, I'll call you first, and then if I don't get an answer or anything, I'll go to the next number and then the next number. Did they teach you that at treatment?
No, when I was going to, what do you call it, meetings,
Okay.
and they suggested get all the numbers that you can get. That way, if the first one don't work, or the second one, but you have a whole paper
Almost
of
like
numbers.
the black book.
Right.
Black book
exactly.
of numbers. Yeah.
I'm not saying a lot of people would tell you no, but 99.9%, somebody is always there
There for you.
to help you.
Yeah.
And that's how I learned in recovery, because that's not an addiction. That's just people reaching out to you because you have, like people don't.
Support system.
Yeah,
It's a support
that's a
system.
good answer. Support
know?
system.
You know, a couple of things too, Joe. You know, you indicated that when you were 18, you started dabbling, and then you said, you know, well, maybe it was 17. That's a long period of time. A long period of time. I mean, me and you, we're not spring chickens anymore.
Oh no.
You know,
no.
but you know, the people that I see, you see, coming into treatment, it's progressively, and I'll say it, it's progressively getting worse. You know, I don't know if it's the economy. I don't know, it's issues from COVID. I had the lady from the Samaritans on a few weeks ago, talking about the number of suicides now that are happening. I don't know if it's kids exploring the issue of alcohol and substances, and then all of a sudden, boom, bang, they're hooked. But it's hard. It's hard right now to get an empty bed, and that's concerning to me. It's concerning to me because I say this all the time. Someday, hopefully, the station manager here will come into this program and say, "That's it, John, we don't need you anymore. Thank you for your service." But I don't see that happening, Joe.
No, not me.
I don't see it happening. I mean, I'm not on the street like you're on the street. You know, you're at a facility, you talk to people. What are you hearing from the folks that you deal with? Whether it's xylazine, whether it's cocaine, whether it's fentanyl, whether it's alcohol. What are you hearing on the street?
You see, I hear a lot of fentanyl, a lot of crack, cocaine, a lot of marijuana, even though it's illegal. It's legal right now. But
But they're mixing everything with it.
oh yeah, absolutely. It's in cigarettes. It's, believe me, it's tough out there with these people that they want to get help, but then they reverse it. Nah, I'm not ready yet. Well, when are you going to be ready, man? I mean, I'm here to help you. I'm not here to hurt you.
Right, right.
I mean, I'll go the whole 110% to help you. If you don't want the help, my friend, then, I mean, I'm going to talk to you anyway, you know, because I keep it simple and I keep it moving on these people that are on the street. Because I can sit there and talk all day long. The point is, are you listening?
Right.
Do you want the help? I mean, I'll get you into a program, just mention my name,
Yeah.
and they'll get you right in.
You know, sometimes it's frustrating. It's frustrating when you talk to folks and you try to get into their head that, you know, they need treatment, they need to become productive citizens again, and you know, you can't be frustrated by it. You got to take another shot, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4, or a dozen shots. But at that one time when Johnny says, "Okay, you made it through. Help me. Help me." And that's it. You know, they get help, they get into treatment, They get into recovery housing. They become productive citizens again. You know, rather being on the train where they're not working, they're collecting, they're homeless. Their families have abandoned them because of all the things that they did, being high and, you know, stealing, robbing, the whole bit. And that's a difficult thing. And you said it earlier about trust. You got to earn the trust of your family members again because of what you did in your prior life. Once you get recovery and you become productive citizens again, you have to make that loop to the family again to get their trust to get you back into your family. Was that a difficult thing for you?
I left at an early age. My mother couldn't handle me, I guess. I was too rambunctious. So she sent me off to a school in Florida, but that's when I was 5 years old. And then I came back up here and went to the Children's Center. So I was in there from 7 till like 18. Then I started using drugs and stuff, and I just totally lost it. I mean, it's not good to be in jail or be someplace where you don't want to be. You know, and bring it up homeless. I was homeless for at least a year. I was working at the Crossroads up by the prison.
Yeah.
And I had a good job there, but I couldn't get away from the crack or the alcohol.
Yeah.
So they said, oh, we got to do a screening on you, right? And they said, you can have your bed, but you can't work here. I said, no problem. So then, like I said, Lou Costa got me into MAP. I don't know if you heard of that name.
Yeah.
He's got like 30-something years. I got about 17. But who's counting? You know what I mean? I just take it one day at a time.
One day at a time. I'm not counting because I'm glad you're on this side of the bay and not the other side of the bay.
Exactly.
But we got to take another quick break.
Sure, John.
You're watching Recovery TV, and I'm your host, Sean Tassoni. We're here with Mr. Pine. We'll be back right after these messages.
Now, back to Recovery TV with your host, John J. Tassoni Jr. Recovery TV is made possible by our supporting sponsors and our title sponsor, AdCare. Now, here's John and today's guest.
Welcome back to Recovery TV, and I'm your host, Sean Tassoni. Mr. Joe Pine is in the house. He's in recovery since December 3rd, 2008, and thank you for joining us today. If you had to do it over again, what would you do different?
I would help somebody in need. I would help somebody that really needs it.
Yep.
I wouldn't be going back out there. And if I did, like I explained to you earlier, I'd be calling people. That's the best I can do.
Yeah.
You know, but if somebody else needs help, because there's a lot of sick and suffering addicts out there that don't know the first thing about recovery.
Right, and getting help and getting healthy.
Exactly.
And getting
Look at me.
Right.
I
So you told me a saying. I want you to repeat the saying to my viewers.
Okay, sure, John. It's called A Journey of 1,000 Miles. Starts with a single step. If you want to know the road ahead, ask them coming back. That means, you know what I mean, but I'm going to let them know. What that means is you didn't get it the first time, so apparently you got it the second time.
Relapse. Relapse is part of the healing.
Absolutely.
Joe, thank you for coming on today, and I really appreciate you coming on, and congratulations on your 17 years. And thank you for watching Recovery TV. Next week, my guest is Sarah Hogan from AdCare, and it will be my 100th show. So guess what? We'll see you next week.